Hi, readers and adventurers. Thanks for getting me your pictures of you and your favorite reading spots. I would love to share those with teachers on our Google Classroom page and maybe even on our school Facebook page. So if you would like to be a part of that, please send me a photo of you reading. I can't wait to see your favorite spots. We are in Chapter 7 of Magic on the Map. Let's move. And it's called The Weirdest Day. Being outside in Colorado was different from being outside in Ohio. There were no paved streets, only miles of emerald green grass. From on top of their horses, the twins looked out over the wilderness. Red, jagged rocks sprouted up from the ground. Snow-topped mountains could be seen in the distance. All the people who'd been in the mess hall, the cafeteria, at breakfast, plus Roger, were on horseback in front of them. And then there were the cows. White cows with black splotches, brown cows with white patches, big cows, baby cows. It was like an endless sea, but instead of water, there were cows, and more cows. Finn had tried to count them, but it was impossible to keep track of them when they were all moving. His best guess was at least 500 cows. Look at that, Finn called to his sister, pointing to one cow that didn't look like any of the others. She was white with no splotches. A couple of ranch hands were riding their horses beside her. That must be Snowflake. She's beautiful, Molly said. I mean, beautiful for a cow. Beautiful for a cow, Finn repeated. That's so weird. And you know what else is weird? What? Molly asked. We're riding horses next to cows, said Finn. This is the weirdest day of my life. Mine too, Molly said, and Mom and Dad don't even know we're here. Do you think they're awake by now? Probably, Finn replied. They must be really mad. That must be Snowflake. They must be really scared, said Molly. I hope our work is done soon so we can get home. Roger turned to look over his shoulder. Great job keeping up the rear, he called. Job, Molly repeated. That's another word for work. Do you think this is the work Pet was talking about? Finn said, to follow a bunch of cows on horseback? Maybe, Molly said. She patted Dash's soft neck. I wish Pet had been more specific. Ella circled back and steered her horse in between Rocket and Dasha. Where are you from? She asked. Harvey Falls, Ohio, Finn answered. What about you? I live here, Ella said. You do? Molly asked. Yes, actually, I split my time between the Snowflake Ranch, where my dad lives, and Orlando, where my mom lives. Who's your dad? Finn asked. That's him, Ella said. She pointed to Roger. I spend every summer here with him. During the school year, I live in Orlando with my mom. Orlando is in Florida, by the way, Molly told her brother. It's where Disney World is. But Orlando isn't the capital. That's Tallahassee. And Denver is the capital of Colorado. Do you know you sound like a textbook again? Finn asked. Molly sighed. Then Dasha sped up, and Molly's hands clutched the reins tighter. I wouldn't mind being in Disney World right now, she said. I bet the rides there aren't as scary as this. Oh, the horseback rides here are way better, Ella said. You don't have to wait in long lines to go on them, and each time it's a whole new adventure. Dasha neighed as if she was agreeing. Molly gripped the reins even tighter. What are all the cows for? Finn asked. We're leading the cows, Ella explained. That's why we're on horseback. Leading them where? Molly asked. To their pasture, so they can graze, Ella answered. The cows don't know how to get there themselves? Asked Finn. No, Ella said, but cows are awesome in lots of other ways. They have really strong senses of smell, and they're extremely curious. If we weren't leading them right now, they'd probably wander off to check out that clover field. I bet they can smell the clover all the way from here. So we ride with the cows, Finn said. And is that all we do? We also have campfires and whitewater rafting, said Ella. And a square dance. A square dance, Molly asked. What's that? It's the state, Ella began, but Finn interrupted her. What's that noise? What noise? Ella and Molly asked. That one, Finn said. Shh. The girls listened. In the distance, they could make out a steady knocking sound. It came from above them in the trees. The knocking sound got faster and faster. Is it what? Molly whispered. You don't think it's one of those rogue cowboys the grown-ups were talking about at breakfast, do you? Finn asked. I don't think rogue cowboys live in tree branches, Molly said. They don't, Ella said. I told you, the rogue cowboys don't really exist. The sound is just a family of woodpeckers. Woodpeckers, Molly exclaimed. I've never seen one in person. But when she looked up, all she could see were rustling leaves in the branches of the towering birch trees. Roger circled back to check on the kids. Thanks for helping out our new buckaroos, Ella. Now, kids, look over yonder about 2 miles as the crow flies, he said. That's the Blue River, which flows into the Great Colorado River. And see that, way up over there? Oh, wow, Finn said. Is that Mount Everest? Molly giggled. Mount Everest isn't in Colorado, she said. It's not even in the United States. That's Mount Lincoln, right, Dad? Ella asked. Right you are, young lady, Roger said proudly. Well, it could have been Mount Everest, Finn muttered. It looks like the biggest mountain in the world. It's not even the biggest mountain in the Rocky Mountains, Roger told him. That'd be Mount Elbert. We're a few days away from that site. For now, we're going to set up camp and just ahead of that clearing. Whoa, Molly said, a few days? She looked over at Finn, knowing he was thinking the same thing she was. How long was this work in Colorado going to take? Look over there, Roger said. There's a gang of elk. Then he gave his horse a kick to return to the front of the herd. The kids looked toward the elk. They were huge deer-like animals with tall antlers coming out of their heads. There are a lot of elk in these mountains, Ella said. The moose are a little shyer, but sometimes you get to see them too. They kept riding. They didn't see any moose, or any more elk for that matter, though they did see 2 prairie dogs, 3 rabbits, and best of all, a bald eagle soaring overhead. Finally, they reached the clearing where Roger said they were to set up camp. Finn climbed down off Rocket. Then Finn and Ella helped Molly carefully get down from Dasha. The adults busied themselves hammering stakes into the ground, stretching out tents, and gathering the wood and water they need for the night. Did you hear that? Finn asked. Another woodpecker? Molly guessed. I don't think so, Ella said. It sounded like horses. Suddenly, the camp was filled with the thundering sound of horse hooves crashing through the woods. 3 cowboys with red bandanas tied around their mouths and big brown cowboy hats shading their faces rode through the clearing. Their horses kicked up giant clouds of dust. They galloped out to the pasture of grazing animals. Their white horses slowed down for a split second, and then the cowboys took off back into the woods as fast as they arrived. The white cows with black splotches, the brown cows with white patches, the big cows and the baby cows were all mooing in confusion and concern. And Snowflake, wait, where was Snowflake? The most famous cow in Colorado was gone. What happened? Did the cowboys take Snowflake? What are they going to do with her? Chapter 8's coming up next week for you. Follow that cow. Stay tuned.